Okay, so Kanye West, he's come out to a rant saying that George Floyd died from a drug overdose and not from Derek Chauvin. So let's have a look at this because I was going to do a George Floyd video when it first came, when he first passed away, and it was just so controversial. I thought I'm not going to touch this, but I did research quite a bit into it, and I came to my own conclusion. So now that Kanye sort of brought it up, I'll sort of prompted me to do this video because there is a little bit of evidence that uh, it could have been a drug overdose. So I'll run through exactly what I came up with. Um, Conclusion is it's a bit inconclusive, but it could go either way. All right, so Kanye is saying that he's been watching woman, what's the name? What's that woman's name? Candace Owens. Apparently, she's come out with a video saying that the knee wasn't on the neck and etc. etc. So let's look into it. First of all, let's go to the coroner's report because that was the first thing I looked at when George passed away back in 2020. So, this is the coroner's report, toxicology report from Hennepin County Medical Examiner. It's got George Floyd, date of birth, etc., etc. And the key thing here is fentanyl. Got keeps on moving, doesn't it? Fentanyl. Come on. Anyway, you'll see it there. Fentanyl. It's not working. The mousey. Yeah, 11 nanograms per milliliter. So that's the number you need to remember. 11 nanograms per milliliter. And he's also had some methamphetamine in him, which people are saying that's very low concentration, 19 nanograms per milliliter. Had some marijuana, THC, positive for caffeine, cotinine, which is a byproduct of cigarettes. So trace elements of all sorts of things in there. So the question is this a fatal level? So what we'll do, where are we here? Just going to my next one. Here we go. So this came out just a couple of days ago. So the experts are saying that George Floyd died from neck to knee, not drug overdose. And their reasoning is, so this talks about Kanye West as well. Kanye was saying they hit him with fentanyl. If you look, the guy's knee wasn't even on the neck like that. And citing a new documentary from conservative commentator Candace Owens. Right, so let's look into it. So we've got the medical people here. Where was it? I was just watching, just looked at it just before. Here we go. Here we go. So Lewis Nelson, Director of Medical Toxicology Division at Rutgers, New Jersey Medical School, told AP on Thursday that the medical examiner's office and the expert witness called by prosecutors during the trial properly concluded that Floyd did not die of an overdose or because of his drug use. So this is interesting. He said the amount of fentanyl found in Floyd's system could be lethal for first-time user or a young child or a small adult, but not likely for Floyd, who was 46 years old, stood more than 6 foot tall, weighed more than 200 pounds, and struggled with opioid addiction. Nelson also dismissed the amount of meth in Floyd's system as trivial. So that got me thinking, like, this is quite interesting because the way I think about it is, how you've got in Australia we've got the blood alcohol limit of 0.05, and it's independent. It's independent of how big the person is because it's the concentration. And I've confirmed this I did a Google search on do larger people have more blood? So the amount of blood in a person's body depends on their size. The bigger the person's body is, the more blood it will contain. Right? So that's why you don't look at the dosage of fentanyl or alcohol. You look at the blood concentration because that normalizes the body size. So you're getting you're comparing apples with apples. So I was a bit confused why he brought that up. And he said that, because his size is, it's just that common misconception. Sure, you can actually ingest, like he could have a larger dose of fentanyl, right? He'd need a larger dose of fentanyl to actually get that level in his blood, right? So this is what's confused me. It's like, well, this guy's meant to be an expert. I'm I'm no medical expert. Even I know this. Just because you're bigger doesn't mean the effects of the same blood concentration is going to be the same. All that's going to happen is George would need a larger dose of fentanyl to get that level in his blood, that 11 nanograms per milliliter. So, and then he goes on to say, if somebody was a chronic user and their blood level was 11, we wouldn't be particularly concerned. Nelson said the amount of fentanyl in Floyd. In fact, sometimes people could be in withdrawal of levels 11. It's tricky. You have to put it in context. So this is where this is what I mean. It does get tricky. All right. So I agree with that. It's, a chronic user might be able to tolerate a higher level in their blood. But Floyd apparently was admitted to hospital just a couple of months before he died because of a fentanyl overdose. It'd be interesting to find out what that level was. I don't think I could. Did I look for it? I don't think I did. I might do another video if I can find it, but I don't think it was ever tested or they worked out what concentration was in his blood. All right, so I think Kanye's been a bit silly just mouthing off because I've come to the conclusion as well that it's tricky. We don't fully know, but the circumstantial evidence is it could have been an overdose. Let's have a look. So what else did I look at? Here we go. All right, so then I looked at some cases from the CDC. They had multiple fentanyl overdoses in New Haven back in 2016. And if you look at the concentrations here, so 3 people died. So serum samples from the hospitalized patients analysed at UCSF demonstrated fentanyl levels of 0.5 to 9.5 nanograms per milliliter. Right, so George was 11. Therapeutic range for analgesia, so it's like pain relief, is 0.6 to 3. Post-mortem levels in the first 2 patients who died was 11, so it's the same as George, and 13. Right? So he's getting in that danger range. Of course, we don't know if these were first-time users or we don't know. But you can see the evidence is mounting up that it could have been an overdose. And, Kanye's got the money. He could probably take him to court and who knows what's going to happen. What else did I say? So then I looked at what does a fentanyl overdose look like and just trying to match up whether George had these symptoms. So, immediate blue or grey lips. It's hard to tell. I don't know how black people look blue or grey lips. I don't know. Body stiffening, seizure-like activity. Now, he was kicking out with the officers. That's why they put him on the ground, because when they were trying to put him in the squad car, he was kicking out. Now, he was denying he was resisting arrest. So maybe he was having a seizure. He was having trouble walking. I remember that. And I kind of, man, you're having trouble walking. And early on, this one here, foaming at the mouth, the officer said, Have you been taking drugs? And he says, no, man. He goes, well, you're foaming on the mouth. And you can actually see it was on his, I think it was on his left side, or right side. No, right side, I think. He was foaming in the mouth. I've got the full body cam video as well. I might leave a link. It's on YouTube, but hopefully it's still on there. I downloaded it a long time ago. I was looking at it. It runs for 1.5 hours. It's 45 minutes. 2 officer body cams. It's very interesting because you get a totally different perspective when you're watching the actual video and what actually happened instead of the last little bit of 9 minutes where they're kneeling on George. Confusion. before becoming unresponsive. And yeah, George was just blabbering on. He was really, really like incohesive, incoherent. I mean, he just could not understand what the hell he was on about. It was just rambling on about all sorts of things. He goes, "I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not that kind of guy," and it was just crazy things. He also, of note, when he said, "I can't breathe," he was saying that when they were trying to put him in the squad car, when they were just holding on to him, trying to get him into the squad car, not kneeling on him, not restricting his breathing or anything. So I think what happened as well was when he was on the ground, he was saying, "I can't breathe." They're saying, "Well, he's just gabbling on." He was gabbling on and trying to get into the squad car, saying, "I'm claustrophobic." They were saying, "We'll wind down the windows for you, guys. Don't worry, we're going to wind down the windows for you. Just get in the car." And yeah, so he was really confused. Also of note, if you watch the video, is there's an elderly black gentleman that was telling George, "Mate, you're not going to win. You're not going to win. Just get in the car. You're not going to win." And that never got reported, which is very interesting too. And you saw him. He turned up after they put George in the ambulance, and the officers went back to George Floyd's SUV. That elderly gentleman was there as well, and he was sort of talking about what happened and all that sort of thing. So very, very interesting how he never got discussed. All right, we're getting a bit off track here. So yeah, these things, apart from the blue or grey lips, I couldn't really tell there, but these three, the body stiffening, definitely foaming at the mouth, and confusion, definitely was what George was exhibiting. Question is, was it enough to be called an overdose? That's the thing. It's very difficult. I don't know whether Kanye is going to defend himself in court, whether he's going to go to court. Talking about the fentanyl facts here, they're saying fentanyl is a synthetic opioid that's up to 50 times stronger than heroin and 100 times stronger than morphine. It's a major contributor to fatal and non-fatal overdoses in the US. This is from the CDC as well. It's a dangerous drug, and George had, lethal levels. But there was another thing I looked at, which is very, very interesting. What's that one? Just gotta find it. Sorry, guys. There was one from. There's one from. It's not there anymore. It was from a European site, and they talk about. Let's go to an analysis. Here you go. Hang on a second. Is it this one? There's one in the European site, and they talk about the levels of opioids. Let's have a quick look. Here. Lethal level of fentanyl. Oh, here it is. There you go. Found it. So here we go. So this is from European Monitoring Centre for Drug and Drug Addiction. And if I do another search for the nanograms per milliliter, here we go. So this is very interesting because they go, let's zoom in. That's too much. Put him up here so we can see him. It says here, blood concentrations of approximately 7 nanograms per milliliter, so George had 11, or greater, have been associated with fatalities where polysubstance use was involved. Very interesting. So they're talking about here, he goes, the estimated lethal dose in human is 2 milligrams, so that's ingested. The recommended serum concentration for analgesics, so that's pain relief, is 1 to 2 nanograms per milliliter, and for anesthesia, so that's putting you to sleep, is 10 to 20. And he had 11. So that's funny. It's touch and go. They're right on the edge there of the concentration needed to put you to sleep. But they're also saying that if you got other substances in your blood, like blood concentration of 7 nanograms or greater being associated with fatalities where poly substance use was involved. So, you've got marijuana, you've had the meth, you had caffeine, nicotine, all sorts of things in combination. Was that cocktail what caused him to die? We don't know. We don't know. The thing is, we may never know because there's too many factors involved. But I thought I'd do this video because it's very easy to dismiss Kanye as just ranting on. But when you look into it, if Kanye could have a case, but how's he going to prove it? It's just could have been drug overdose. Could have. If Derek and the officers didn't even restrain him, he might have died in his car. Who knows? That's very possible because they say that it happens very quickly too. I saw somewhere it said within minutes it just sort of, here we go. Saw somewhere where it was saying within minutes you can just sort of change from being alert to basically gone. Here we go. There we go. So this was they fall into a sleep-like state. Well, that's what George was. He was just sort of, drifting off. They have shallow breathing. They stop talking. So yeah, George was just chattering, and then he stopped talking as well, obviously. And their face turns ashen, and their fingertips turn blue, and their lips turn pale. That's hard to tell because he was on the ground. We don't really have any full-on close-up of his face when he was on the ground with the officers there. See, this goes. Some social media users have claimed that video of Floyd's death shows Chauvin's knee wasn't pressing his neck the entire time, giving him moments to catch his breath and not suffocate. But the thing was, when George was saying, "I can't breathe," the officers were saying, "Well, you seem to be doing a lot of talking, for somebody who can't breathe." And it's like, well, you got a point there. So the thing is, why did he stop talking? Was it because of the knee to the neck? And they're saying that the knee was on the shoulder blades. That's what Candace Owen is saying. I need to look at the footage more, but to me, if it was on the shoulder blade, it might have been just when Derek was moving around. For me, it seemed like he was on the base of the ears. Right here it says, even if the moments might have been barely shifted the knee to Floyd's shoulder blade area or the base of the neck. So it's another little point there that you really need to really study it to have a look at it. But I really want to do a full analysis of this at some point because it's very interesting when you watch the full video what actually happened. If I wanted to summarize it, I don't think it was racial because there was two other black occupants of the vehicle. They were treated really, really respectfully and well. They even were allowed to walk around the car, which is quite dangerous around police because they could just grab a gun and shoot them. But it was because George was acting really erratic. He wasn't following directions from the police. Also noticed that one of the officers was asking, this was after he got put in the ambulance, was saying, what's the symptoms of PCP? Because he reckons his eyes were darting around. So, they knew it was really high at the time. So that's why they cuffed George, because when you're erratic around police, they don't know whether you're going to pull a gun out and shoot them, And one of the officers even said that he was getting nervous because when George had his hands behind his back, he was moving his hands around and he's sort of going, well, you could have, he didn't know whether he was going to try and reach into his pocket, because they hadn't patted him down at that stage. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on. And then when they put him in the car, they tried to get him in the car and he was he just was refusing to get in the squad car. Started kicking at the police, and they decided to put him on the ground because they had to try and restrain him. Now, the thing I'm trying to work out too is at what point did the ambulance get called? Because I know they were sort of talking about, how long until the ambulance arrives, and it was like a couple of minutes. And I do believe that what happened was the ambulance went to the wrong place, and they had to come back. So just a lot of when I watched it, I just sort of came out of watching the full video. Like, it's 1.5 hours. It's a long video. I don't know whether I'd have to do a video at least 1.5 hours just to commentate and just really nut out every little detail, because it was very involved. It showed everything. It showed them talking to the was it Cup Foods employees and that sort of thing. So it went through the whole thing, why he got arrested, all the way to when they got him in the ambulance. They even showed like them trying to resuscitate him, which I don't think I'll be showing on YouTube. I don't know why that was on YouTube to start with. Yeah, very, very interesting video. I'll see if I can find it, and I'll put a link in the description. But yeah, that's what I think of Kanye West. He shouldn't have brought it up, really. He's going to get himself into trouble. He'll have to go to court now. To me, it's inconclusive. It's possible, but most of the experts are saying that it was Chauvin's knee that killed him. I don't know. I'm sitting on the fence this. I reckon it could have been a factor of all things. Might have been, like, you just can't separate. You can't rerun. It's not like an experiment where you can just rerun it and go, okay, we'll do this scenario without Chauvin's knee, and we'll just see if he, dies of an overdose. You can't, it's too late. So what do? You just got to get the medical advice and go from that. So yeah, old Kanye's got himself in a bit of a pickle, but at least I've presented something here, so you sort of got a full picture. You can decide for yourself. Don't sort of rely on the media reports. Dig around yourself. Look at, don't go to the conspiracy sites or anything. Just look at, the proper reports, like I've shown you, the county medical toxicology and so forth. It's all there. Like, nobody's disputing the facts. So look at the facts. Look at what concentrations cause overdoses, that sort of thing. Come up with your own conclusion. All right, so we'll leave it there. Might do a George Floyd video, do a full thing. So there's so many things in there, that little subtle things that the media didn't talk about that I picked up, and I wouldn't mind discussing them. So leave your comments below. Tell me if you want me to do a full-on George Floyd video, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.